Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this Metaphorix's third webinar of 2016. And this morning we will be looking at financial reporting, both through what is standard screen and hard copy printing, and also using something called account schedules, where we can use the export to Excel functionality. So first of all, we will visit the on-screen and hard copy reporting, things that I might be able to show you that you're not aware of at the moment, and then we'll go on to the account schedules themselves. So we will have a look at an existing account schedule, and I'll take you through how that is set up and how we can print and send to Excel. And then we will have a look at creating a new account schedule so you can see it in real time, and how we create our rows and determine the column layouts as well, and we will create a new set of columns at the same time. And we will then look at how we overview the account schedule and how we can drill down into ledger entries, and from our overview how again we can export to Excel. Because account schedules inherently have our two global dimensions that you may or may not be using, for those of us who have more than just two dimensions, we will then have a look at what we call the shortcut dimensions, how we can incorporate additional dimensions into our account schedules through something called analysis views. So now, as normal, I will be using the Cronus database. This is a 2013 database, so the dates are going to look a little bit strange, but please forgive me for that. So first of all, let's have a look from our chart of accounts and what we can view already. You'll notice in our ribbon at the top we have something called GL balance by dimension. Now you can use this even if you don't actually have dimensions within your database, because it just gives you an additional view, a look at your chart of accounts. So we're presented with some fast tabs so that we can pull in some information that we want. How do we want to see it? What do we want to show on the lines? And what do we want to show across as the columns? We can pop in a date filter. So for this database, believe it or not, I'm going to be using 2013 because it is the 2013 database. Okay. For my GL account filter, I'm actually going to use my expense codes. If I wanted budgets, then I can attach budgets to it as well. You'll notice also I can use the filters here for the two global dimensions here in this database, which are the department and the project, but I'm not going to do that. We'll have a look at that in a moment. We can determine what amounts that we want to see and how we want to view it by month, picking up the counting period calendar or the system calendar, and what we're going to view in this case, net change. Column set here, that is governed by what you have selected in your columns here. You have the choice though to select, rather than in this case, because I've got the periods, it is the period actual dates. I can actually, if I click that box, I will get the headings of, in this case, the months, i.e. the periods here. So we then go, please, when you're doing it, don't click OK, because you'll only have to come back, because we then have to go to show matrix. So here is my my dimensions view, albeit that I'm not choosing to select any dimensions. So I have all my GL accounts, and I filtered, if you remember, for the 8,000 range, and then going across for or the various months which I have specified in the date range. I'm just going to come back because I just want to show you how else you can view. We can, as the columns, pick up either of our two global dimensions. So in this case we have department or project. So I'm going to show department because that's going to show us a little bit more information. So this time department, and you'll notice that the column set has now changed here to administration and sales, which are our dimension values. I'll use the same settings in terms of GL accounts, etc. So just come back to our show matrix, and now we can see the details of our expenditures through our various GL accounts, but now against the various departments. And of course you can drill down into the fields, and you can see the actual entries that make up those values, and even navigate to the actual documents if you wish. Okay, so that's our balance by dimension, and as I say, you can get that purely from your chart of accounts just by going to GL balance by dimension. So that's quite useful for viewing your chart of accounts in a different format. Additionally, we have lots of reports. We've got, dependent on your role centre, will depend obviously on what reports you're seeing up here. So we can have a look at various ones. I'm just going to go back to chart of accounts and reports here, because the one I want actually just to show you for this example is this one, trial balance by period. Lots of reports, and you really should just have a look at them all to see if they give you the details that you want. But when we click on our report, as normal, we are presented with a dialog box to ask us what information that we want. What starting date, so we can choose what period we want to start this particular report from, and then as normal we have our filtering here for both GL accounts and if we only wanted to view certain dimensions. I'm not going to do that, we're just going to have a look at it as it is now. So I'll go to preview. Okay, so now we have our preview report, which is bringing out all the details, and in this case it's all accounts because I didn't do any filters. Okay, and from here I have the option that I can print, or I can actually send to Excel if I wish. If I do Excel from here, then it will ask me to actually save the report or save the spreadsheet. So I'm not going to do that now. I'll show you from when we go into our account schedules. So lots of standard reports, lots of different formats. However, there is one aspect of our financial reporting which relates specifically to profit and loss reports, which you will use the account schedules in order to create a profit and loss. So from my role centre, because I'm accounting manager, I can go to the analysis tab and click on account schedules. Of course, if you're in a different role centre, then you can just use your search box up here and type in account schedules. So you can have as many account schedules as you wish, incorporating various GL accounts, etc., entirely up to yourselves to create one in the format that you wish. I'm just going to show you first of all one that's already set up before we create a new one, to give you a feel for what you can actually produce from the system. So I'm just going to go to the overview, and here we've got our details of our GL accounts that we want to pull out, and then we've got some headings. I'm just going to go back a screen because, in fact, no, I'm not. I'm going to go back to that one. I forgot where I was for the moment. Okay, so we've got details of rows down the side here and columns across the top, and that is controlled by this section at the top here. If I, just to show you what this looks like, I'm just now going to go to the print option on the actions ribbon. Again, standard NAV dialog box where I can enter some filtering. Which account schedule do I want to use? Which column layout do I want to use? Well, I'm actually going to use a different column layout that I'm showing on the screen, and I'm going to do the balance by budget. And again, I will show you how to create a new set of columns later on. I'm going to just change that to 13 just because we've probably got more data. Okay, and in this case I'm including a budget filter, okay, which was a bit sad because that is 13, so I'd better change that to 2013. And now lots of other filters, but at this point in time I'm just going to go into the preview because I really just want you to have a look at what the output can look like. Okay, so at the top we've got details of the report and any filters that I have set, and I have just set the filters here. Then we've got our rows and our details coming down the page here, and then our columns going across. And you'll notice that we've got some spacing, we've got some underline characters, etc. So what I'd like to do now is show you how we can gain this information from our account schedule. So just going to escape there, come back a screen, and this time I'm going to edit account schedule, make that full screen, and what we have here is the layout that obviously we viewed on the printed version. We have rows. We use row numbers for two reasons: to keep it in order, but also in case we need to create formulas later on. We then provide a description of your choice. You create that yourselves, and then we have what is classed as the totaling type, and that is basically what sort of account it is that you're looking at. The options are posting accounts or total accounts, and I'll show you examples of those in a moment. We can set a formula. We can say that we want to use this particular row as the base for a percentage calculation, and for those that use the cash flow, then we can use the cash flow types here as well. So in our example here, just to explain the difference between posting accounts and total accounts, we have this line, sales of final products. It's picked up that it's total accounts, and that is because, and if I now drill down into the totaling field, which represents the GL account, when I click down into here and go to my chart of accounts, which one was it? So if I just do 6195, okay, and I'm using that just because I'm a bit lazy so that I can show you exactly where that position is. So there is my total sales of retail. It is an end total, which is why it's coming through as a totaling account, and it is actually the total of those above posting accounts. Okay, whereas we've got down here in our cost of goods sold, we have our cost of sales and final products. Well, in here we're using a posting accounts because we're picking out individual accounts from our chart of accounts, and we use normal division filtering whereby we can do ranges. So we've got GL account 7110 to 7130. Then we have our little pipe symbol here which says and or, so 7110 to 7130, skip some accounts and then go from 7150 to 7190 and give me the total of those GL accounts on this particular line of my account schedule. We can then say what row type we want. Do we want to show just the net change, the balance at date, or the beginning balance? And of course this is all dependent on the report that you're creating. We can then say what the amount type is that we want to show, and again dependent on the GL account that you're using, you might determine that you want to show the net amount, debit amount, or credit amount. We then have some additional columns here which is about how the printed document is going to look. So for example, we can decide whether we actually, when we print, whether we want to show that line. Reasons why we might not want to is perhaps it's a formula line and you don't want to see that in the report. So we can choose whether to show or not. Only show if any column not 0, or only when a positive balance or when a negative balance. Again, all just down to the actual report and how you want it to be displayed. We can also determine that at the break or change of a GL account that we want to, when we're printing, throw to a new page. And we can also say whether we want that particular field or row to be emboldened. And we can just simply do that by ticking the box here. And we have got some more if I just scroll over. And we can also decide that we can pop, when printed, we can put it into italics. We've got one here called a show opposite sign, and this is specifically because within NAV, revenue accounts are always shown as negative, so you would probably want to change those so that they were all positive fields. So in here we would just get my cursor to work, come down, and we would just tick those ones as being positive. And also we can define that we want the line to be underlined, which is exactly what we were seeing from our preview. Okay, so that's how we, or the criteria that we can add to our account schedule. So what we'll do now is we will actually go and have a look at how we can create our account schedule in the first place. So I've just escaped and come back a screen. Edit list, of course, and in here I'm just going to create one called Meta Profit and Loss. Okay, at the moment I don't know which columns I'm going to use, so the default column is just when I open it, open with this one. Well, I'm going to actually create my own column in a short space of time, so I'm going to leave that as is at the moment. Then I'm going to go to Edit Account Schedule, and we now have a lovely blank screen. Now I can come in here manually and type in my row and add my heading details, whatever I want to display on my report, but of course that would take quite a while, but it might be the way dependent on the layout of your report. For example, the report we were looking at last time would have been created in a manual way, but to save me time, and make sure that we can cover everything today, I'm actually going to use a function, get rid of that line there, and I'm going to use the insert GL accounts function at the top here. And what that allows me to do is go to my chart of accounts and pick up the accounts that I want to use. I could, of course, edit afterwards, which indeed is what I will be doing. So I'm just going to scroll down to my income statement, and from here I've got some options. I can click and drag. I can use my control key to pick up individuals as well. So anything I want, but just for speed, I'm just going to come down and pick up. Oh, it goes on forever, doesn't it? All of my, just actually to that, and I just simply say OK, and my screen is populated for me. Now you'll notice in the column that is row number that the number that is displayed is actually the GL account that is detailed in the totaling column. Navision, as usual, is always helping us to get information through. So it's automatically as well, it knows whether an account is a posting account or whether it is a totaling account. So that comes through for me. So really all that's left is for me to decide the other information that I want on my report. So I'm just going to move these columns along a bit. Just to sneak these ones in. So again, we can decide what row types and the amount types, and I'm quite happy with the selections there. I can decide whether I want to put that new page in, whether I want a particular line to be emboldened, so I might want to have my headings here in bold and my totals, etc. I'll come to dimensions a bit later, if I may. I might want to say that for my totals, which is that one, that I want that to be in italics. As I've said, for my sales accounts, I do actually want those to be as positive. So I'm just using my down arrow and my space bar to pop that selection in. Oops. Okay, and I can also decide just by ticking the box, I can say that I want a particular field to be underlined. Okay, so because I've used the insert GL account, I am very stuck to the format of my chart of accounts, because indeed that's what I've picked up. But I don't have to be. I can use the insert accounts, but then I can choose to move things around if I wish to. So for example, I can just highlight and copy rows, and then I can come down to the end of my account schedule, and then, not that I would, I appreciate this is a little bit silly, but just to show you, and then I can do my paste rows. So I can move these lines around to best suit how I want my report to be laid out. Just going to delete those because they look a bit silly down the bottom there. Okay, so I'll come back up to the top of my report. Other things that you might want to do, as I say, the row numbers have come across purely based on the GL accounts. If I don't want them to be that, I can come in and I can change those. Oops. There's nothing wrong with me doing that at all. And what I also might want to do is, because I may decide that I'm going to take some of these options out, because I'm picking up the totaling account from my chart of accounts, that is going to pick all those accounts up. So in this instance, if I was deciding that I didn't want to include, for example, those job sales lines, because in here my total sales of retail is picking up that totaling account from my chart of accounts, it won't be a true calculation of the fields above. So in this case, what I will do, I've got two choices. I can either put a formula in, so I can say, I can say I want to add those rows, or I can do my total accounts, and then I can just put in here that I want 100 to, so line or row 100 to line 159. Okay, so I have lots of different options that I can do, irrespective of whether I've used the insert GL accounts or not. Okay, so I should have made that formula, of course, and I'm sure you picked up on that. Okay, so if we were to go and have a look at my report here, okay, I can see what I've brought through now. I can, at the moment, I'm looking at what is a default columns. Okay, and I'll show you in just 2 ticks how we could create our own columns, but I can just pick up, for example, if we go back to our budget figures, and that information is coming through for me. Okay, again, I've got the ability to put in date filters, etc. And by using my next and previous periods, I can go back a year or go forward, etc. So I have full control over that. I've also got the ability here to filter on my 2 globals. If you remember, department and project are the 2 global filters. Just to show you how that works, I can just come in and say I want to bring in administration, but dependent on my data, will depend on whether I get any data through or not. And in this database, they haven't been posting with those global budgets, global dimensions. Okay, so once I've got this, I've then got the capability of exporting to Excel. I can choose to either create a workbook or add to an existing one. Well, I'm going to create a workbook. So say OK to that. And that's just a standard Windows typey dialog box. And so down in the bottom here, my Excel workbook has been opened up for us, and we can see where I have, and again it's going to bring through those attributes in terms of where I said I want to embolden a field and where I want to italicize. Okay, so let's just close my Excel book down. Also, what I'm able to do from here is I can drill into my field value, and from there I can then drill down yet again, and I can see all the entries that are making up that value. So if you were looking at, for example, expenses, and you thought figure was a bit high, you can drill down in this manner and then actually go to the document that has generated. So if I now just show that is generated that figure, and you can just check and see what it was all about. So very powerful. Just from your one screen you can get to all the background information and how that value has been calculated. Okay, so I've just escaped back through to my Meta. What I want to go through now is how we can look at creating our column layouts. So I'm going to cheat a bit. I'm just going to drill down in here and then going to go to New, and I'm going to call this one Departments. Oops. Okay. And now I've created just that header, I can go into Edit Column Layouts, and again I've got a nice blank screen. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create some lines in this way. Oh, yes, I can do that. Okay, and my first department heading is Administration. And then I've got Production, and this is Sales. And then I can have a total column here if I wish. Entirely up to yourselves how you set this up. Again, I can choose the column type. I can choose whether I'm looking at the GL entries or a particular column is going to be for budgets. I can select to show either the net amount, debit or credit, and of course a lot of this will depend on how you've set your rows up. And then what I want to do is I want to add in my department code, because here, just because I've typed administration, of course it doesn't mean that it's going to just pull in administration automatically for me. So in here I can then just drill down and say on this column please bring through administration, on this one production, and on this one my sales. And then here I can say that my formula is column, in this case 10 to column, now I could do that to 39, which means that I could, if I wanted to later on, add a new column in between here. So I can say OK to that. I'm still on department, so again OK, which is now bringing it through to my account schedule, and there we have the details. Now sales, you'd expect for the sales to come through in that area, and I'm just going to go back a year as well. Okay, so when we then come down to our expenditures, we can see now, which probably makes a bit more sense, about having the departments on there. And again from here we can again just drill down and go to the information as to what has generated that figure in the first place. And again from here we can obviously, as we did previously, export to Excel. I won't do that now. So that's account schedules, and we are incorporating our two global, and in this case we've looked at the department one. However, if we wanted to include our additional dimensions, if you remember they're called our shortcut dimensions, for those we have to include something called an analysis view. So I'm just going to come back to my list of account schedules, and you'll notice that we have one here called sales area, which is sales by areas. We have some columns set up, and I'm just going to show you what those columns look like. Very similar to what we had before in terms of when I was using department, it's picking up the area codes which relate to the Europe, North and South total and America. And also for us to be able to get to that shortcut that I mentioned called area, we have to have an analysis view. And again, I'm just going to show you what that looks like. So if I just go to edit, and here we can see that we can select which GL accounts we want to use, and then in the bottom section we can pull out the dimensions that we want to use, and in this case I have department, area and customer group. Okay, so from here I can now go to my overview, and we can now see that we have incorporated our shortcut dimension in our column total. So we can see what sales have been made up through Europe. South Europe's not doing at all well, we can see that, and then Europe as a total, and Americas, we don't have many American sales here either. But also here you can add additional filters if you want to. So for example, if you still wanted to filter by department, or perhaps as in this database you have projects or anything in those lines, you can incorporate those additional dimensions using the analysis views. Okay, well, I've come to the end of our little session this morning, and we can just say that we have gone through, revisited the financial reporting via our screen, as in using the balance by dimension from our chart of accounts. We've looked at hard copy reporting using standard Navision reports, and then we had a look at how account schedules are set up, how we can print, how we can save to Excel, and how we can additionally add our other shortcut dimensions, i.e. more than just our two global dimensions, by using the analysis views. I hope you've all enjoyed this morning's session. I have had you on mute, which was quite unkind of me, but I will now take you off mute and ask if you have any questions, then please ask away. If you're a bit shy and don't want to, then if you do have some questions, either you can email Debbie, who organised this meeting for us, or please just drop an email through to support and we will be more than happy to get back to you. So, any questions? Okay, well, thank you for joining us today for this session. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I look forward to you joining me on our next one. Thank you.